very happy to introduce the still undisputed hardest working CEO in the biotechnology industry, Ilan Sobel.
Wow, thank you, Justin. What an introduction. And good evening, everybody, and compliments of the season to everybody. It's fantastic to have so many people joining us here today. It's been an amazing year for us. We've really accomplished as a team, the team here that's working every day, BioHarvest, and together with our team of investor partners, we've accomplished so much this year. Thousands of investors have come along the journey with us to really change the world. Tonight's focus is to really help you understand the purpose of the company, help you get deep into our technology, our game-changing platform technology, and specifically the capabilities of the company, and to really help you understand how we are going to make a fundamental positive change to the world, increasing what we call human utility value, and at the same time building transformational shareholder value for our investor partners. My intention is to talk and take you through the presentation for 35, maybe 40 minutes, and then to leave a good 20 minutes for questions. We already have a lot of very good questions, so thank you for people for putting the time into that. And if we have to run a few minutes after the hour, I'm very happy to do that to make sure I cover off enough of the questions. Okay, so get ready for an interesting ride. I think you're going to really enjoy the next 35 minutes. Hopefully I'm going to really make you think really hard about how you invest your money and how you ensure you're investing your time, your energy, and your resources in companies that have a significant purpose to make fundamentally positive changes to the world. So first of all, before I start, I just need to make sure everybody just reads the forward-looking statements. You all can read much faster than I can talk. So I'll just leave this on for a couple of seconds. Okay, I think we're good to go, Justin. Right, so who are we? At our core, BioHarvest Sciences, we are a biotech company. We see ourselves as the global leaders in plant cell biology. So let me dimensionalize this a little bit for you. And we are able to be the leaders of plant cell biology by unlocking the secrets of cellular plant biology. We're able to bring the next generation of plant-based, science-based therapeutics, grounded in a strong IP portfolio, and we're going to talk about this a lot today. And with our platform technology, where we're bringing the power of the plant to the people, we are able to address today an addressable market of $500 billion and growing. So let's unravel this a little bit. What is the major problem we're trying to solve? Or how I like to see it, the opportunity. The human body needs critical, active, primary and secondary metabolites, critical primary and secondary active ingredients in order to function effectively. These are primary metabolites, so for example, premium proteins, secondary metabolites like polyphenols, antioxidants, and of course, cannabinoids. But the challenge is that currently with nature, there are challenges to be able to grow these critical active ingredients. And we as a company, we assist Mother Nature to ensure that we can provide these critical active ingredients to the end consumer in the most efficient way. We're solving for challenges around inconsistency. We're solving for challenges around a lack of cleanliness. We're solving for challenges with high costs. And also we're ensuring that whatever we do as we partner with nature, that we're making sure that we preserve nature and ensuring that we do not in any way damage the environment. So we are able to bring these primary and secondary metabolites, which are so important for the human body, by leveraging our unique technology that we call bioplant CELLicitation technology. And it's important to understand that this technology that we have, which is heavily patented, is the only industrial scale platform that is able to bring plant-based therapeutic solutions, which are importantly are able to maintain the original natural structure, natural compound structure. We're able to bring these active ingredients to the end consumer in a full spectrum state. And we do all of this without growing the plant. And when we deliver these critical active ingredients, we're able to do this with fingerprint consistency. We're able to grow these active ingredients in our cells with aseptic cleanliness, really pharma grade levels of cleanliness, the unique full spectrum composition. So we're not just bringing singular compounds, but we're able to bring all the critical compounds that are important. So in the case of our red grape product Vineya, we bring a number of different polyphenols that work together in a synergistic effect to be able to give the important benefits to the end consumer. And we do this in a way where sustainability is at the core of our technology. And we'll talk a little bit more during the presentation, the uniqueness of our sustainability technology and why it's so important in the space that we operate. And lastly, we have developed such a level of industrial and commercial scale that we're able to now produce these critical active ingredients in a non-genetically modified format, so where we maintain the original natural structure, full spectrum, with a level of consistency and cleanliness, which is extremely unique to the world and allows us to leverage the power of the plant and bring this to the people. The addressable market is significant today, and we'll talk about it. We're going to show you where we operate, and I'll go deep in the nutraceutical vertical, which is, again, a significant vertical from an addressable size perspective. Cannabinoids markets, these are the two areas that we're operating today. In the nutraceutical space, we've gone all the way from R&D all the way through to successful commercialization and validation of our technology with a highly successful Vineya business that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. And as many of you may know, in the cannabis space, we've really made history by bringing the first company to bring full spectrum cannabis to the marketplace without growing the plant. We've talked about the future to our shareholder partners, and I've said that publicly there are 4 additional verticals that we are looking at. And over the next 3 to 4 months, we will focus on one of these verticals in order for us to build a 3rd vertical to the company. And the 4 verticals that we're looking and have a team working in great detail to validate the size of the prize and our ability to disrupt these verticals in the same way we have the nutraceutical market and the cannabis market. We are looking at psychedelics. We are looking at specific botanical drugs. We are looking at traditional Chinese medicine, as well as the important vertical of protein growth factors that are so important in order for cellular meat to be a industrially feasible opportunity for the future. More to come in these areas, but I just wanted you to understand that we are a platform technology company that today operates in 2 verticals. Tomorrow, we will have a 3rd vertical, but you can see where the future is, leveraging the power of our platform technology across multiple verticals. And in doing this, disrupting the verticals that we play in, and making sure that we're building what I call inimitable, sustainable competitive advantage because of the uniqueness of our technology and the IP that we have, and the fact that we're the only company that is able to bring these active ingredients to the end consumer at such an industrial scale with all these benefits around consistency, the cleanliness, the full spectrum nature, non-GMO, and extremely sensitive to the environment. So let me help you understand a little bit about our technology platform, which we call BioPlant CELLicitation. It's pretty simple when we think about how we've dimensionalized this. We take the plant once, we isolate the cells with the key active ingredients. We grow these cells. At the same time, we store these cells in a cell bank so we can have that longevity and consistency as it relates to the actual active ingredient that we're growing. We then move through our biocelllicitation process, and the actual cells grow in aseptic bioreactors. Once the cells with the critical active ingredients reach a certain body mass, we actually go through a harvesting or a harvesting process, is probably the best way to call it, where we harvest the cells, and then we move towards a drying process where those cells will move into capsules in the case of our Vineya product, and in the case of our cannabis product, we're able to move our biomass into multiple different formats based on the requirements of the end user. What's important as we understand this process is that in the case of, for example, Vineya, which is based on the French paradox, where we know the French paradox talks about the fact that the French people have a very fatty diet, lots of lipids, lots of butter, lots of pate, but they have generally very good cardiovascular health. When the scientists went in to understand what was driving that very good cardiovascular health from a global benchmarking perspective, they realized that it was as a result of moderate consumption of red wine. That's 2 to 3 glasses of red wine every single day. And when they went deeper to understand, they realized that it was being derived by a number of critical polyphenols. One of these polyphenols was piceid resveratrol. In addition, there were a number of other polyphenols that worked synergistically from a full spectrum perspective and systematic effect perspective, worked together like many instruments working together in an orchestra. There were a critical matrix of other polyphenols, including catechin, quercetin, anthocyanins, and tannins, that work together with the piceid resveratrol to create this significantly improved overall cardiovascular health. So we took the red grape, and in fact, we took the skin of the red grape, and from the skin of the red grape, plus the flesh of the grape and a few other components, we were able to grow cells with extremely high levels of piceid resveratrol and the combination of other polyphenols. We grow those cells literally for 21 days. And in fact, we're actually able to increase the amount of piceid resveratrol by 100 times more than what is found in the red grape. And in fact, we're the only company in the world, because of our technology, that is able to grow piceid resveratrol from the skin of the red grape, making us extremely unique, because piceid resveratrol, as you'll see a little bit later, has very unique qualities as far as solubility and bioavailability is concerned. So we grow these cells for 21 days. We do what takes nature literally 2 years in the context of wine. It's 1 year growth period for the grapes. You pick the grapes and you have another year to get your wine. And what we have, once we have our dry powder, is we encapsulate, and in each one of these capsules, you have the same amount of piceid resveratrol in one of these 400 milligram capsules as is contained in one entire bottle of red wine. But we have no sugar, we have no calories, and of course, there's no alcohol. So this is a real game changer for the nutraceutical world, and specifically the polyphenol world. And we've had tremendous success with our product proposition since launching Vineya in the market. Justin, why don't we play the quick video which talks about the science of Vineya?
Your heart is the hero of your operating system, delivering oxygenated blood and nutrients to every cell, tissue, and organ in your body through an average of 60,000 miles of arteries, veins, and capillaries. The walls of arteries, veins, and arterioles are lined with smooth muscle cells that can shorten and lengthen, like the muscles that move your limbs. Vascular smooth muscle cells modulate the yin and yang of blood vessel dilation and constriction, helping your body to maintain its natural blood flow balance. Vineya is easily absorbed in the blood, where it has the ability to improve your blood flow balance. Vineya influences the production of two molecules made by endothelial cells that line the interior of all blood vessels. Endothelin-1, which causes vessel constriction, is harmful in excess. Vineya reduces ET1. Simultaneously, Vineya raises nitric oxide, allowing arteries to relax and dilate, increasing the volume of blood flow. The beneficial result of Vineya's double action effect of reduction in ET1 and added NO boost is an increase in the dilation of your arteries. This improved vascular activity increases blood flow to your brain, heart, and tissues, and supplies them with more oxygen and nutrients. The net effect is increased blood flow and heart health, enhanced physical energy, and mental alertness.
You can see the unique benefits that Vineya has related to heart health, related to improving blood circulation. Vineya is extremely unique, as you can see, because from the consumption of Vineya, we're able to significantly increase the dilation of the arteries. And as a result of increased dilation of the arteries, you have a significant improvement in blood flow. And with the increased improvement in blood flow, you have more oxygen and more nutrients going to the body tissues and the organs. And as a result, you have a number of fundamental benefits which are derived, because blood flow is just so super important for the body. And these benefits are around improved heart health, maintaining blood pressure within already normal range, increasing physical energy and mental alertness, none of that brain fog. It's amazing when you wake up in the morning and literally Vineya ensures that you can actually think right from the beginning. And then obviously from an antioxidant perspective, it's fueling the antioxidant activity within your veins and arteries. And importantly, some new claims that we've just started to talk about related to our clinical trials on Vineya. And we actually have 3 clinical trials on Vineya, double-blind placebo, all published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. And you'll see us starting to talk about the fact that Vineya prevents lipid oxidation. We're able to actually reduce the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. So Vineya has been an amazing demonstration of the power of our technology platform and being able to take something from R&D and demonstrates our ability as a company to drive strategy and to execute on strategy all the way through to the end consumer. And just very quickly, we've launched Vineya in Israel. We have an amazing business in Israel. We've shared with our shareholder partners already that we expect this year to do between $1.6 and $1.7 million of just one SKU that we only sell in e-commerce. And we've launched Vineya very successfully starting in end of May this year in the US. It's been a pilot for us as we start to scale up our manufacturing capacity here with the finalization of a new 20-ton facility that we're currently working to get up and running. But we've seen a fantastic results in the US. You can see an overall actual verified review rating of 4.8 out of 5. We have more than 330 reviews here. And you can see just what people are talking about the product. I encourage everybody, go to vineya.com, spend the time, click on the reviews page, and go and read what people are saying about the product. You'll see them, really play back a lot of the benefits, and they are deeply involved in the product because the product has made a fundamentally positive change in their lives. You can see all about increasing blood flow, increased levels of energy, improving the circulation as a result of more circulation. In this case, Stephen has much warmer feet, and this is a really important part of why blood flow is so important for your body. And here you can see difference in how I handle stress. Feels like my blood is flowing like a river. There you go, the blood flow. especially in the weight room and in muscle recovery. Okay, so go and spend the time, and you'll really understand the magic and the power of Vineya and the validation, strong validation of our platform. As I said, we've had significant growth. We have delivered already up until third quarter north of 1.5 million, and we're looking forward to sharing the fourth quarter results in a few weeks' time. We also have in our pipeline olive cells and pomegranate cells. The olive cells are focused on bringing the benefits of the Mediterranean diet without the calories, supporting the maintenance of LDL cholesterol. And then on pomegranate cells, which will be the next product in our pipeline, is all about the health benefits of pomegranates without the sugars. So it's all about anti-inflammation support. Okay, now let's talk about our technology as it relates to the second vertical, which is cannabis. Similarly, you'll see the platform works in the same way. We take the plant once, so we just need the plant once. We're able to grow the cells. We isolate the specifically active ingredients. In the case of cannabis, we have been unbelievably successful, and we have broken historical barriers in biology by being now the only company in the world to actually grow the critical trichome, which is the most important part of the cannabis plant, because the trichome is the mini factory that produces the cannabinoids, the terpenes, and the flavonoids, and stores the terpenes, cannabinoids, and flavonoids. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we do that in such a unique way. But once we grow, literally we're growing in our bioreactors. Here it's about a 3 to 4 week process, and then we have perpetual flowering. And then we move similarly into a harvesting stage where we're actually then able to dry the actual trichomes themselves. And then we are left with this magical, beautiful, pristine, clean, consistent biomass. Okay. And what we're able to do, in fact, because we're in perpetual flowering, we have amazing efficiencies of 13 cycles per year, versus best in class in the industry is up at about 6 cycles per year, and the average in the industry from an indoor perspective is around about 3 to 4 cycles per year. So you can see just the scale of the efficiency that we're able to drive here, in addition to what I'm going to share with you now, the uniqueness of the actual product that we're able to grow. So I think pictures tell a thousand words, and you can see on the left-hand side is what happens in nature with the normalized ritual growing of the actual cannabis plant. And obviously what we're doing is we're actually growing our cells in these pristine bioreactors, aseptic grade, pharma grade bioreactors, and then we start to work through our bioplant CELLicitation process. As we talked before, the most important part of the actual cannabis plant, which is producing the critical active compound, is the trichome. Here on the left-hand side, you can see trichomes sitting on the stems. They sit on the stems on top of the actual leaves and the base of the plant. And here you can see our trichomes. You'll notice the density, unique density of the trichomes, and how they're very closely amalgamated together. And if I click one more, you then start to see the perfect structures that we have and the unique levels of density when compared to the normal growth cycle of the trichomes in the actual plant itself. So we're basically running the same play, and we're just doing it in a much more consistent and a much more efficient way. And I'm going to talk about a little bit later the gravity of the positive environmental impact of what we do. And here you go, zooming in, the BioHarvest beautiful trichomes in contrast to nature's beautiful trichomes. Ultimately, the trichomes themselves are comparable, but we just have a much greater density, which is part of the power of our IP that we have. So this bioplant CELLicitation, I talked before, in the case of Pisces resveratrol, we're able to through the CELLicitation process, we're able to increase the critical active ingredient of Parsaid resveratrol by 100 times. And in fact, in the case of the trichomes that I just showed you before, our trichome density is between 100 to 200 times greater on a per millimeter squared actual area versus what is found from a regular plant. Again, just talking about the efficiency of our process. I think it's important here because people who are, are investors in the cannabis space, it's important for them to kind of understand the power of our technology platform vis-a-vis conventional farming of cannabis and vis-a-vis biosynthesis. As many of you may know, biosynthesis is significantly different to our process. And if you look across these critical parameters, obviously the benefits of our technology are strongly ingrained in the efficiency of the land, much lower production costs versus obviously conventional farming and biosynthesis. You'll see a little bit later, the capex that's required is significantly lower as a result of the IP that we have. Our production cycle times are lower. We have significant cleanliness and consistency, but importantly, our platform allows us to produce full spectrum cannabis, which is in a marked contrast to biosynthesis, which is producing singular isolates. So singular actual compounds, whether it's CBD, CBG, etc. We're producing full spectrum of the cannabinoids which are present in the original source plant. This is very, very important. From a sustainability perspective, we have significant advantages, which I'll talk through. And importantly as well, we are non-GMO because we do not change the actual natural structural composition of the actual active compound, where biosynthesis does require genetic engineering. So hopefully this gives you a good understanding of the power of our platform versus the other types of farming. In this case, I've used cannabis as an example. And I'll dimensionalize this a little bit further in a few charts. We talked about scalability. This is my favorite chart. And we've done this, okay? We've proven this. This is not just a wish, okay? Or as we say in Australia, a thumb suck, okay? Here we have literally in our plant, 15 minutes from my office here, where I am here in north of Tel Aviv, we have invested roughly 3.3 million, depending on currency fluctuations, in actually a 1,100 square meter facility that will produce 20 plus metric tons of our Parsaid resveratrol plus matrix of other polyphenols, i.e. Vineya. And this can generate at a direct-to-consumer revenue level of at least $40 million per year in revenue. So, find me another business where you have to invest 3 to 4 million and you're able to generate, obviously you've got to build the demand, but you're able to generate from that 3 to 4 million in actual capex up to $40 million per year in revenue. And by the way, what's important to understand is that we were able to do this, the 3 to 4 million building of a facility, literally in 12 months, which in the current supply chain, challenges from a COVID perspective, I think really just demonstrates the ability of the company to be able to execute and deliver what we say we're going to do. Okay, sustainability, I've touched on it, but here are the facts as it relates to our platform technology. I think firstly, I'm really, really proud to say that we are the first biotech company engaged in the production of cannabis biomass and cannabinoids to actually publish an ESG sustainability report. Where in fact, we were the second cannabis company in the world to publish an ESG sustainability report. And we're super proud of the characteristics of our technology as it relates to its sustainability benefits, because our technology has sustainability built into the core of the technology. And in the case of cannabis, quite clearly, we use significantly less land, a fraction of the land, 98% less land than traditional outdoor agriculture, 90% less space than indoor growing. It's important as well, we are not generating any direct greenhouse gas emissions, and there's no hazardous waste. And importantly, we have 100% biodegradable wastewater. Why? Because we use no fertilizers. There's no pesticides. There's no heavy metals, and there's no solvents used. So we're able to take all of the water and put it back into the municipal system for it to be recycled. This is game changing, and this is part of us being a purpose-driven company, a company that's focused at delivering significant human utility value, i.e. transformational benefits in people's overall health and wellness, whilst at the same time making sure we're leaving our world in a better place for our children and our grandchildren. We've had a number of breakthrough achievements from a cannabis perspective over the last 12 months, and there's just tremendous momentum in our overall cannabis development program, where we're pretty much reaching the end of that development program as we speak, given the ability to complete so many stages with such momentum. Firstly, right now, actually, we have a 2.5-year high-performing reservoir of cells. We've been using the same cells now for 2.5 years, which really guarantees us that fingerprint consistency that we talk about, that is so important for the industry. We are growing multiple strains, okay? Multiple strains in multiple bioreactors. We have a high THC strain, a high CBD strain, and another strain where we have a better equilibrium between THC and CBD. We've developed some breakthrough drying processes. We're in the process of continue to develop new measurement techniques. We have very unique ability to be able to be in perpetual flowering. So you can see the normal stage, normal process is 14 to 23 weeks from seedling to vegetative stage to flowering and then harvesting, and then it dies and you have to plant the actual cannabis the plant again. For us, it's 3 to 4 weeks of perpetual flowering, of growth, and then perpetual flowering, and then harvesting. So we are able to get great efficiencies, which drives the low cost. And then importantly, our trichome density, 100 to 200 times greater than the plant's trichome density. And again, I want to emphasize, we are the only company in the world, no other company, no other academic institution has been able to grow trichomes in bioreactors. We literally have made history in this area. We have climbed our biologist team of super talented biologists. Many of them have been with us for longer than 10 years, so they have an enormous learning curve. They literally have climbed Mount Everest and back to unlock secrets of cellular plant biology to be able to deliver on this. There is no literature out there. We are writing the literature on actually how this has to be done. Super exciting, and I'm really proud of the team. We also were able to figure out a way to ensure that we could scale this unique density of trichomes as we move from small to medium and larger bioreactors. And we did this through, I think, sheer brilliance in the science, in the biological science, by being actually able to ensure that the trichomes all came together, amalgamated together in these coral-like structures that we call amalgamated trichome coral structure. And it's a game changer for us. Obviously, a very important part of our IP. It's a game changer for us because when the actual trichomes are all locked together in this dense way, they become much stronger. And therefore, as we move into large bioreactors to get the scale, these trichomes are able to defend themselves against shear forces that are happening in the bioreactors. And this allows the trichomes to continue through their growth cycle without any damages, which is a real game changer from a scalability perspective. And as we announced, last week, we now have grown kilograms of this spectacular, unique biomass. And with this, Justin, can you please share the video? And let's hope we get the sound right.
Yes, and before everybody clamors, thanks so much. Ilan, it sounds like you and I just have to mute. Everybody could hear the volume, but as soon as we opened up our own mics, they were getting feedback.
we messed it up. Okay, so I'm not touching anything. You just tell me what to do.
One of us did.
It was me. I'll take responsibility.
It is just music in the background. There we go.
Okay, great. Justin, can you flip it for me, please?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. The response from this video when we released it last week has just been overwhelming. Here's just a few numbers that we have from the respective media outlets that featured this video. You can see Facebook, 120,000 views. This is our BioHarvest. YouTube was more than 18,000 views. High Times, 50,000 views, and a lot of comments, a lot of chatter going on. Cannabis Financial Network, 77,000 views. Forbes, we don't know what the final number is, but we know we had over, up until a few hours ago, over 18,800 likes. So people really understanding and starting to dimensionalize the fact that we are solving major problems that are facing the cannabis industry related to a lack of consistency, related to a lack of cleanliness. Look what happened last week. In the state of Michigan, you had a massive recall because of mold. Obviously, we're not dealing with that because of the unique cleanliness and the way we grow our cannabis in pharma-grade bioreactors. So we're solving the consistency problem. We're solving the cleanliness problem. We're bringing full spectrum, non-GMO cannabis to the market in a highly environmentally sensitive manner. And it's super exciting. People are really starting to appreciate it and see what a game changer this is as far as the industry is concerned. A lot of the comments that people had following the video was, Ilan, BioHarvest, tell us exactly, what exactly is the composition of the final biomass? What's in it? What's the percentage of the different cannabinoids? Well, I want to share with you and help you understand where we're at on this. And again, us at BioHarvest, we always hit things, right in the nail on the head. And for us, we're a biotech company, and I think you can all appreciate for a biotech company, and you've heard me touch on this a few times, our IP strategy is super critical. It's the bread and butter of the business. We have already filed patents related to our cannabis technology, related to 3 critical dimensions. 1 is process, 2 is composition, and 3 is utility. Now, as we've got further through the cannabis commercialization program, we've realized that we have what we believe is very unique composition, which will ultimately drive significant incremental utility. And from an IP perspective, the timing of our disclosures are so important. And we have to do that in a way that maximizes the strength of our patents. So, to all our shareholders out there and our and future shareholders, we will be bringing this to you shortly, but I'm sure you can appreciate for existing shareholders and new shareholders that what's critical is that we do this in a manner that best protects the game-changing IP that we have. So I wanted to spend a few minutes on this and take this opportunity in this presentation to do this, because I have been asked this question quite a few times from a number of people, and we can talk more about this also at the end of the session. So how are we going to use our biomass, and what's the route to market and the strategy, and how we're going to bring our unique cannabis to the marketplace? Well, it's probably going to be a combination of B2B and D2C. You know that we have direct-to-consumer capabilities ourselves. We've clearly demonstrated the building of a commercial machine with Vineya. From a B2B perspective, we will be focusing on pharma, and we've started to see this opportunity just last Friday with a major acquisition in the pharma world, which connected to the cannabis world, and I'll touch on that in a second. Obviously, biomass, B2B biomass for major players is going to be important, specifically those major players that can get us to the use cases that we want, specifically medicinal side, and then in the food and beverage side, those companies that are sitting there right now that want to get into cannabis as an ingredient in food and beverages, but are sitting on the sidelines because they haven't been able to get a company that can guarantee them that consistency and cleanliness for them to be able to put cannabis or hemp-based CBD in their actual supply chain. And here you can see, just for illustration purposes only, some of the work we're starting to do on our own direct-to-consumer brands, one in the medicinal space and the other one more in the hemp-based CBD therapeutic dietary supplement space. What's important to understand is what we have is very unique. And I talked about the density of the trichomes. And in fact, when you actually quantify it, when you look at our actual biomass, it's 93% trichomes. 7% is the parts of the cell, 93% is the actual trichome. So it's probably as close as you're going to get to like a bubble hash kind of format. But there's no sifting here. We just grow this in our bioreactors. And this will be almost like our intel inside as we start to go with B2B partnerships, strategic partnerships, that it's got the BioHarvest 93% trichome special ingredient there for you to be able to optimize performance. And, what we've seen right now is that specifically, when we look clearly in the medicinal space, the size of the prize is so significant. Here you can see the different conditions, medical conditions that we're starting to see consumption from a medical cannabis perspective. And you see the breadth of conditions that people are utilizing medicinal cannabis for. On the left-hand side, you can actually see the proportion of cannabis users who have replaced some or all of their prescription with cannabis based on the different types of medications that they are on, from opioids, which obviously we all understand is a major challenge from a big pharma perspective, all the way through to, basically anxiety, antidepressants. We're seeing a significant level of substitution and in some cases actual replacement. And this is an area that gets us super excited about, because for these patients, the most critical aspects that they need from their cannabis relates back to the need for fingerprint consistency and the cleanliness of the cannabis 365 days a year. And so this is, again, a very important use case that we're going to be focusing on. And it's exciting because, the pharma world has really woken up. Pfizer has now, has been kind of bold and audacious and has started to take a bet in the cannabis world. And I think this is a real demonstration of the magnitude of importance that cannabis has as it relates to the ability to drive a fundamental improvement in many palliative and therapeutic conditions that today big pharma, with their synthesized, singular molecule drugs, are not able to adequately address patient needs. And this is a really amazing space for us as one important use case for us as a company, which grounds us in being a purpose-driven company that's looking to drive a transformational, positive change to the world. I'm really excited. I feel very privileged to lead a extremely dynamic and experienced team that has significant experience from really world-renowned leaders in their industries. And we have a level of commitment and focus and purpose. You've heard me use this word quite a few times, that, frankly, from my experience, it's unwavering, because we're really on a mission to change the world. We have a wonderful team of world-class industry leaders that are partnering together with us, with specific handpicked, with specific best-in-class experience in their specific areas, to partner with myself, the leadership team, and the board in making sure we're making the right strategic decisions as it relates to what the company chooses to do and what the company chooses not to do. In addition to a very strong medical advisory board with Dr. Dennis Goodman, who's a world-class cardiologist, and Dr. David Brady, also a world-renowned expert in integrative medicine. We have, over the last literally 10 years, because the company, for many of you know, has actually been in inception from late 2009. We have built the brain of the business with best-in-class R&D, clinical research, end-to-end manufacturing, technology processes, as you've seen here today. And then in the last 18 months since I've come into the business, I've been very focused on building a commercial machine to bring the value of the brain to the marketplace. And that's all around making sure we have the right people on the regulatory side, the ability to drive direct-to-consumer sales, e-commerce, and obviously the importance of strategic partnerships, business development, and B2B sales, which is going to be a very important part of our future as well. Just as we look at the brain very quickly, it's important to understand we've invested close to $45 million already in the company and on the technology platform. We have 14 patents. We have 8 scientific studies. We have 3 patents pending. And we have 3 clinical trials that have already been published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. From a manufacturing perspective, we have our 2-ton facility right here where our offices are. And then literally 15 minutes away, we have our new 20-ton facility that we're in the process of doing the biological transfer and final commissioning, that has been approved by the Ministry of Health, has best-in-class GMP and ISO levels. All our bioreactors are patented. And we've really developed a lot of customization across the industry because of the uniqueness of the platform technology that we have. We have a high-performing commercial machine. I talked about partnerships. We have an amazing partnership already with Batori Foods, who is the #1 food ingredients supplier in the US. They only do food ingredients. And they've been a great partner with us to be able to reach all the giants of industry. And from a B2B actual strategic alignment, we have with an amazing company called Designs for Health. Designs for Health are in the top 3 of nutraceutical providers direct to doctors. So only for doctors and only for nutritionists. You have to have a provider number. And Vineya has already been formulated as a strategic ingredient in 3 of their products. Lastly, and I also want to use this opportunity to introduce a new member to our advisory board, somebody that I have tremendous respect for, and somebody who is clearly a 1 in a billion person, and that is Chris Hatfield, who clearly is the most experienced astronaut, and it's an absolute privilege to have him as part of our advisory board. And when I talk about the company having a deep purpose, that purpose is, relates to obviously purpose on earth, but we also are dreamers. And, if you don't dream, if you don't dream, you have to always, be dreaming about what can happen in the future. And if you will it, it is no dream. And for us, we see a tremendous opportunity actually of utilizing our platform technology in new space settlements out there, specifically targeting two areas. One, new settlements in space, which there will be in the next 10 years with the race for space right now, with the entrepreneurs that are out there, from Bezos to Branson, to Elon Musk, together with NASA. There are going to be space settlements, and they need sustainability from a food perspective. Our platform technology can produce premium protein nutrients for people living in future space settlements. And that's something that we're excited about over the next few years, developing in close partnership with Chris, with his advisory partnership with us. And then in the area of our antioxidant power with products like Vineya and our olive cells and our pomegranate cells, it's actually interesting. The biggest challenge for people living from an overall health and wellness perspective, for people living in settlements, is the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. And that's an area that Vineya, we've been able to demonstrate in our clinical trials that we're able to reduce the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. So just another critical area that we're looking at, obviously over time, starting to support the pursuit for actually having settlements in space with the right technology to support that. When you look at comparables, there are a couple of companies that we like to benchmark ourselves versus. You have Zymergen and Ginkgo Bioworks. Ginkgo Bioworks are probably best known for their genetic engineering services that they provide biotech companies. When you look at Zymergen, they have a platform that does material innovation for many different types of products, leveraging the power of biology for different products used from a consumer goods perspective, all the way through to personal care. You can look at the values of these companies versus where we are. We believe there's significant upside. We believe that BioHarvest today, is a unique investment opportunity based on our benchmarking against peers and also understanding the power of our platform technology in the context of the world that we live in. So, I'm gonna finish up there, Justin, just for the interest of time, and just to quickly summarize. And I'm happy to go, 10 to 15 minutes longer. But you can clearly see this is a unique investment opportunity. We have significant runway for the business. We are maniacally focused on executing on strategy, and we've demonstrated in the last 18 months the ability to consistently execute and operationalize our strategy. And I look forward, I hope you've had this opportunity to understand the company and its capabilities, and look forward to you coming on board as investor partners. Over to you, Justin, for Q&A time.
So first thing, this one was for me. What does inimitable mean? We used it a couple times. It means so good or unusual as to be impossible to copy, unique.
That's it. Inimitable is you cannot copy it. And it actually, Justin, it comes from Porter's five forces model on good strategy. He talks about inimitable competitive advantage. If your competitive advantage can be imitated, it's not competitive advantage. So that's why our RP strategy is so important as we build out the power of our platform technology.
Good. Well, I'm not in trouble for calling you inimitable then. So first question, could you please comment? We have a lot of obviously active industry growers who've joined us. I get a lot of questions about it. Can you please give people some guidance on how you're looking at, like, let's say the USA, the corporate footprint in that market, licensing, partnerships, multi-state operators?
Yeah, no problem. So, we are now, at least myself and together with the board, we're starting to think through very carefully the chess game as it relates to the different moves we need to make related to bringing our product to market. Obviously, what's going to be critical for us, as I've mentioned a few times already today, is strategic partnerships. And we want to align ourselves with companies that really are anchored in the following two areas. Number one, they have congruent values to us as a company. And what do I mean by congruent values? I mean, they are purpose-driven companies. They are companies that really want to make a fundamental change in the world, positive change in the world. They are companies that care about the environment. They are companies that operate with the highest levels of integrity. So these are the kind of partners that we're looking to start to have dialogues with. And then obviously, secondly, we want to be having dialogues with partners that are going to allow us to bring the power of our technology to as many consumers as possible, and that have the appropriate reach, distribution channels, because that's not what we're going to be focusing on. We're going to be focusing on the IP side. We're going to be focusing on the manufacturing side. And we will, in the next 12 to 18 months, we will have to build a plant in the US, obviously from a medicinal cannabis. If regulation stays as it is today, we will have to choose carefully on where we think is the best location to be able to optimize the revenue and profit opportunities. We are right now as well in the process of, I would say, finalizing, hopefully, locations in Boston for our own, small scale facility that we can use as a showcase facility and continue to do some additional R&D by having feet on the ground in the US. Nathaniel, who's our key lead working with us in Boston, has checked out I've been driving him crazy, probably about 20 different locations. He's realizing what a fussy guy I am. But yeah, we need to make sure we're in the right place, that it has all the right facilities, but we're getting closer and closer and working with the right communities as well. So, the bottom line is we've got to make sure we have the right partners from a capability perspective. We've got to make sure we have the right partners from a value and purpose perspective. And that's basically the criteria. The last few weeks, we've started to see the pipeline of potential partners build significantly. And this is really my criteria on how we start to have the dialogues with, whether it's multi-state operators or other major players, other strategic players. So hopefully that gives you some good context around that.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry if I missed this in there. If you're looking at other global markets like Canada, Europe, Southeast Asia.
Yeah, Canada is a real possibility for us. When I talk about, for me, it's always US and Canada. We're going to have to make some choices on where we go first. And again, this will be a combination of finding the right partner. This will be the focus for us, obviously, Israel and North America. And then, similar to our Vineya business, where we are regulated in Israel and in the US, we're in the process of going through the regulatory process in Europe, UK, and Canada, and then we'll move to Asia, specifically focus in Japan. I could see us following a similar route for what we're doing from a cannabis perspective.
Excellent. This is a common question as people are looking at our biomass and trying to understand its usages. Can the trichomes be used in all the various ways I can employ trichomes off of regular biomass?
Yeah, absolutely. They're extremely flexible, just like regular trichomes that you have from regular bud, biomass.
How many different strains of cannabis will BioHarvest be looking to produce?
That's a good question. I think I mentioned during the presentation, we are currently growing 3 strains, but as we start to scale our operations in cannabis, and what we will be doing shortly is our 2-ton facility that's producing Vineya. This will actually be, once we transition our Vineya business all to the 20-ton new facility, we will be turning our 2-ton facility here into a cannabis facility. This will give us a lot more flexibility, more space, more access to critical resources that we need. And then ultimately, as we're starting to have those partnership discussions. We're realizing that an important part of the partnership discussions starts with the genetics, and starts with the partner saying, look, we have very unique genetics. These genetics can do A, B, and C. We're challenged with consistency and cleanliness. We know that technology can do this. Are you willing to grow the strain? So, you know, really what I see happening in, I would say, a short period of time, let's call it 12, 18 months, is that the number of strains we grow will increase significantly as we forge the right types of partnerships, which allow us to bring the best genetics to the end user, the end patient, or the end consumer, giving them a level of consistency and cleanliness, and ultimately optimizing the actual utilization of those genetics. So, you know, almost like an API, but obviously in our case, it's full spectrum cannabis biomass, but an API of different genetics, if you can think about it that way. And we can move very, very quickly, as you can see with our process. You know, it's not 3-4 months to actually go through a growth cycle. We can move very, very quickly and be able to churn that process very efficiently. So that is, you know, we are considering that as we start to kind of scope out what it means to us from an operational perspective.
Thank you. Are there any plans to list on any other U.S. or foreign exchanges?
So as good owners of the business, we're always assessing, myself together with the board, as at what is the optimal exchange or exchanges for us to sit on. You know, I would say that, you know, we're looking at a combination of factors related to resources, related to regulation. We have really spent a lot of time thinking this through, and I think we'll be making the right decisions for the business in this context over the next 6 to 12 months.
We have a Vineya question. Have you been in contact with anyone from Coca-Cola management or any other legacy food and beverage companies about adding Vineya to the product? And does Vineya still extend shelf life?
So I'm not able to talk specifically related to individual companies, but I will tell you through our strategic partnership with Perpetual, who I mentioned earlier, Perpetual has access to all the giants of industry, given their, you know, themselves being the biggest food ingredients only distributor in the US. And we are having discussions now with giants of industry that are extremely interested in the product and adding the product into their core products and leveraging the power of two things. One is the benefits that Vineya has as a result of the unique matrix of polyphenols that it has. And then, you know, in some cases, those suppliers are also interested in the fact that because it has such high levels of antioxidants, it is able to increase shelf life. So obviously, it depends on the nature of the product, how long that shelf life can be increased. But in the fast-moving consumer goods business, in a market as big as the US, any increase in shelf life has a significant impact on the P&L. So yes to both. Yes to the second part of the question, and I've given you more context on the first part of the question. You're on mute, Justin. I lost your sound.
Sorry. You mentioned the 2-ton facility being converted to cannabis. Your expectation, would you be able to predict when that facility might be able to produce 1 tons of cannabis?
Look, I will tell you now, we are working like crazy to do 2 things. One is the technology, the biological technology transfer to the new facility. And we're making good progress in that area. And my expectation is, you know, early first quarter, we will be moving with manufacturing in the new facility, you know, feeding the US and the Israeli markets for Vineya. What this means then is we have time to make the specific changes in our current 2-ton facility. There are some building and construction changes that we have to make sure that we're in line with the regulations of the Ministry of Health and the other bodies that govern the space in Israel. You know, we're working to do this as fast as possible because obviously we want to start producing. We want to start moving. I will tell you that, you know, given the growth cycle of the cannabis, we can produce, you know, a good amount of biomass in a short period of time. But, you know, I don't want to make any commitments right now, specifically given, you know, we have to work through the regulatory process and also the challenges we're dealing with right now from a COVID perspective. But what I will say to you is that past performance predicts future performance. And we delivered what we said 12 months ago, that we would have a new facility up and running with COVID, you know, with the challenges of COVID. We delivered on that. So I believe we will deliver the 2-ton facility for cannabis quickly. But I don't want to put any lines in the sand because there are, you know, obviously a few moving parts that we can't control.
Yeah, can I have 3 more questions, Ilan? A very common one. Can you please just touch on again about the process and the question of whether or not it's GMO, about genetic modification? Yeah.
So very proudly, we are non-GMO, and that's something that, like, you know, we are. It's like the core of our business. Just like sustainability is at the core of our technology, non-GMO is at the core of our technology, and that's because we do not in any way change the natural structural composition of the active ingredient. All right, so that's the uniqueness of the technology. That also allows us, an important part that allows us to drive the consistency.
Great. Just a bunch of questions again on the nature of the patents and whether or not they are on the platform or on the product.
So, you know, when you look at patents, you know, your patents are on process, they're on composition, they're on utility. So when it's on composition, it's, you know, basically you're patenting the uniqueness of the end product. The end, in this case, in our case, in, say, for example, in cannabis, from a composition perspective, it will be patents which will be around the unique blend of different, let's call it cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids. And that's really super critical part of the IP. And then obviously process is important. And for us, the process is the scale up, the ability to scale this, where, you know, no man has gone before, no person has gone before to be able to, you know, basically grow the quality of cannabis that we can grow, which is so unique for the industry, without growing the plant, but doing that in an industrial scale, and doing that obviously with growing the trichomes. So this is part of the process. And then you have the utility. And the utility is all around how are you utilizing, what are the unique ways that you're utilizing it. And we're starting to really focus in on that in a more granular way, because we're starting to see the, you know, the uniqueness that we have from a composition perspective. So, you know, I'm trying to be as descriptive as I can. You know, I've probably, you know, leaned in as much as I can, and hopefully that gives people some more texture in the quality of the patents, the amount of time that's spent on building the right IP strategy, because as a biotech company, this really is your bread and butter, in addition to your know-how.
Yeah, and maybe last question, which you can take us into your sign-off. How many other crops could this work with? What other types of food or plant cells?
Look, you know, it's a platform technology. So we're able to leverage the power of the platform technology for any plant in the plant kingdom. The filters that we put in place, and this is important, are filters that we put in place based on the purpose of the company. And the purpose of the company is all about growing human utility value, which is driving a transformational positive change in the health and wellness of people. So, you know, I like telling the story of somebody that came in and said, saffron, can you grow saffron? You can get, I don't know, $2,500, $3,000 a kilo on saffron. And the world markets today, you know, are going crazy. Maybe you can get more. And I said to the person, saffron, yes, we can do saffron, right? But it's not interesting. It's not interesting for us. It's not part of our purpose, right? It's not something that's going to drive human utility value. It's going to make a lot of people happy with what some of the foods that they're eating. But if there's a human utility value that's derived from that, great. So we're being, very, very choiceful in what we do. It has to be purposeful, based on what the company's, core, values are. And that's all around driving transformational human utility value. Because I always say, and this is really important, probably a good way to end off, and I say this a lot to the team, as well as to all our shareholder partners that have come along the journey with us and are really close and tight with the company. And I always say is that if we're focused on our purpose, if we're focused on driving significant human utility value, the shareholder value will come. It'll come with it. If we're making a dramatic disruption and difference in categories and altering in a positive way people's overall health and wellness, the shareholder value will follow that. And we've started to see that. We've started to see that with what we've done with Vineya, and we've seen our share price move considerably since where it was, in last year, and that's what the company is all about. And I'll end on this, and I'll say this to those in people that are considering investing in the company, and whether it's us or whether it's other companies that you want to put your hard-earned dollars, make sure that the companies that you're investing in have a real purpose and have a purpose on why they exist and what they are maniacally focused on and doing every single day, which is totally correlated to who you are as a person and your own personal ethos and DNA down to your core. Because when you do that, you land up making really good investment decisions, and you also land up really having an amazing ride on the journey with that company. So thank you, everybody. I've seen, we've kept 80 plus people here. So that gives me a level of satisfaction that you've enjoyed the ride. And if there's any questions that we haven't answered, Justin and myself will get back to you on that in the next 48 hours. Again, one thing that's unique about us is we're very open. You always have access to me and to Justin. We have an SLA from a response time also back to our shareholder partners. So we look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you've enjoyed the last hour and 15 minutes. And thank you for giving up this time in such an important period of the year. And I wish everybody all the good health, importantly, good health and happiness to you and your families over this Christmas, New Year period, and all the best for 2022.